Hey, you guys, here's the worksheet you're going to work on today. You're looking for the greatest common factor, and you're going to be looking at two terms and then looking at three terms. So, first worksheet, if you go to problem number 2, so I broke down 12, prime factorization, so 4 and 3, 2 and 2. So I wrote out 2 times 2 times 3, and then I got q squared, so that's 2 of them, r cubed, so I got 3 of them, and an s. So I wrote them out, and I kind of lined them up. Then I got a 3 and a q and an r squared, so I wrote them out. Now the greatest common factor is the biggest common factor that both of them share. So they both share a 3, they both share a q, and then they both share 2 r's. So I boxed that in for you. So that's going to be your greatest common factor. So what is it? It's 3q and 2 r's is going to be r squared. So 3q r squared is the greatest common factor of these two terms. All right, let's look at the next one. I wrote out g squared. I wrote out 8, prime factorization, 2 times 2 times 2, and then h squared. So now if I look, they have nothing in common. So if they have nothing in common, they always share a 1. So that would be the greatest common factor. All right, number 6 looks really hard. But if you write it out, take 12, 4 times 3, 2 and 2. So I wrote 2 times 2 times 3. And I have 4 a's, 2 b's, and a c squared. Then I went to 20. 20 is 4 times 5. 2 times 2. So I wrote 2 times 2 times 5. And then I got a cubed, a b, and c squared. So if you look, what do they have in common? Well, 2 2's. Well, write it down. 2 times 2. How many a's do they have in common? 3. So write a cubed. How many b's do they have in common? Well, they just have 1. This only has 1. So what do they have in common? Just 1 b. And then c, they both have 2 c's, so I write c squared. But instead of writing 2 times 2, I'm just going to write 4 a cubed b c squared. Now, start looking. What's really happening here? Well, look. What's the biggest number that goes into 12 and 20? Well, the biggest number that goes into 12 and 20 is 4. Now, if you look at your variables, I got a to the 4th, a to the 3rd. What's the most you can take out of both? The most you can take out is 3 right here, the smallest of those two variables. I have b squared and I have a b. The most you can take out is the smallest one. So that's why I only have a b for my greatest common factor. And then they both have a c squared, so that can come out. All right, let's look at 3 of them. So I wrote out 4. I wrote out 2 times 2, and 5 x's. 16, 4 2's, x squared, and a y. Put the y over here. 8 is 2 times 2 times 2. And then I got x to the 4th, so I wrote out 4 x's. And here's my y squared and my z. So now let's look at what they have in common. Well, they both have 2 2's. Well, we learned on the other one, 2 times 2, that's 4. What's the most x's that I can take out of all of them? Well, the most is going to be the smallest right here. It's going to be this x squared. So I circled that. And then if I look, I got y's in these two. I don't have a y in here. So I can't take it out because it has to be common for all of them. So I can't take a y. And I can't take out a z because these two don't have z's. So I can't take it out. So that's your answer. That's the biggest you can take out of all 3 of those. Let's look at number 2 quick. So I wrote out 10, 2 times 5, 5, 20, and then 2 times 2 times 5. So just look at 10, 5, and 20. Okay, goes in? What's the biggest number that goes into 10, 5, and 20? Well, that's the 5 that we have circled. They all share a 5. Now look at the variables, see if you can do it. If I got m to the 4th, m to the 6th, m to the 5th, which one's the smallest? Right there, m to the 4th. That's the most I can take out of all of them. And then let's get the n's. You got n cubed, n to the 4th, n to the 6th. What's the smallest? Right there. So if you look, I have 3 n's and 3 n's and 3 n's. Okay? So it's always going to be the smallest variable, n cubed. All right, last one. Number 8. See if we can do it. If you have to look down here. But what goes into 6 and 9 and 15? Well, what goes into 6 and 9? Well, that's 3. Does 3 go into 15? Yep. And there it is right there. So 3 is going to be my greatest common factor from my numbers. Let's look at the variables. Which one's the smallest? I got u to the 5th, u squared, u to the 4th. U squared is the smallest. That's the most I can take out. And here's they all have 2 u's. Check the v's. I got v to the 5th, v to the 4th, v squared. Which one's the smallest? V squared. If you can look right here, there's my v squared. And then I got a w and a w cubed and a w. What's the smallest one? 1w. And you can see there it is right there. That's my greatest common factor. All right, finish those worksheets up and have a good day.